Today, we'll look at some potential offensive coordinator hires for the Florida Gators under new head coach Billy Napier, only here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. The holidays are right around the corner and finding the perfect gift is tricky. Omaha Steaks, though, they make it easy to send friends and family an unforgettable gift guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter college in the search bar to find the perfect order, the perfect gift package. Happy Friday. I am Brandon Olson. You can find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon and in Cancun right now. Hello. I am the founder of Whole9Sports.com where you can find all of my written work. Also, obviously, like I just mentioned, just a reminder, I am in Mexico right now. So this was recorded Monday night. And yeah, I love you. I will see you all on Monday. We're going to take a look at the offensive coordinators real quick. I don't think that by the time this episode comes out that we will have a hire for either the offensive or defensive coordinators. I think that will happen after the official press conference, or at least this Sunday after Louisiana's played their games, after potential coordinators have played their games. So I will say that much. First up, I'm going to start with Rob Sale, the Giants offensive line coach, which he's got a history with Billy Napier. Rob Sale was the Louisiana offensive coordinator from 2018 to 2020. He was the offensive coordinator and offensive lines coach from 2018 to 2020. This is the first year Louisiana has gone without him. Rob Sale also has experience in strength and conditioning and as the run game coordinator, which I realize, Billy Napier, he's a run game kind of guy. Like he has a fun run game. He does all these creative things and he gets really good, consistent production from his backs. But I wanted to talk about how Rob Sale coming on as a run game coordinator and offensive line coach, offensive coordinator, whatever it may be. I think that Rob Sale is big for Billy Napier because Billy Napier is a focus on the run game. And if you can have someone else that could focus on the run game, Billy Napier can focus more on recruiting, which we know that he wants to do. And Rob Sale has that resume that would allow him to recruit. Next, Michael D Simoe, the Louisiana current co-offensive coordinator, the tight ends coach, and the recruiting coordinator. Michael D Simoe has been with Louisiana since 2016. So honestly, I think that he might be one of those guys where he's committed to his university as a coach and not necessarily the coach. So I don't know if he'd be willing to leave. He might be the guy that gets promoted to head coach. We don't know at this point. So he might not want to leave. He was there before Billy Napier. He's there now after Billy Napier. Michael D Simoe has been a running back coach too. He's a former quarterback, great recruiter. So he's someone who might want to build a name for himself at Louisiana, and I wouldn't blame him for doing so. He's been at Louisiana, so I don't blame him for doing so. I do think that he would benefit from coming to Florida, but again, maybe he's looking for a spot where he gets to be the sole play caller because he's not a play caller at all. He's not even a sole offensive coordinator with Louisiana. So maybe it's not so enticing for him to leave. However, Tim Ledger, the current Louisiana co-offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach, and recruiting coordinator, I think he is much more likely to leave. I don't want to say much more willing because I don't know him, but I think he's more likely to leave. He's been at Louisiana since 2018, which is when Billy Napier took over. So they've been at Louisiana together the entire time. So there's that. Tim Ledger has been coaching in Louisiana since 1999, whether it's at the college level or the high school level. He's been coaching in Louisiana since 1999. He's got roots there, which is why maybe he won't leave, but I think he'd be willing to for the pay raise that he would get. Tim Ledger, if he were to come to Gainesville, he would be crucial in helping to convert those Louisiana recruits and transfers, whether there are players from the University of Louisiana that want to transfer, whether there are players from Louisiana State that want to transfer. I think Tim Ledger could be the guy to help convert them to Florida Gators and those high-level recruits that, whether they're committed to Louisiana or committed to anywhere, LSU, anywhere else, Oklahoma maybe, they can come to Florida, where again, like I mentioned yesterday, there's a lot more stability in Florida than people are giving them credit for. It is the most stable job that had a head coaching change, without a doubt, in my mind. I will say, I don't think that Tim Ledger is ready to take on a larger role as a sole play caller. I don't know if he's ready to take on a larger role as a head coach at a small university like Michael D Simoe might do with Louisiana. So I do think that Tim Ledger is more likely to leave and come to Florida for those reasons. I would like to see him come over. I don't want to say the issue, but with both Michael D Simoe and Tim Ledger, there is one kind of solid, or not solid, one kind of big elephant in the room there. If Michael D Simoe comes over, he's a tight ends coach. Florida currently has Tim Brewster, and I think that they want to keep him on. If Tim Ledger comes over, Florida currently has Billy Gonzalez, and I think they might want to keep him on. So I think those are two issues, because those guys are, Tim Brewster is a fantastic developer. Billy Gonzalez is a good recruiter. So I think that it might be a little bit of an issue, or not an issue necessarily, but if D Simoe or Ledger come over and Tim Brewster doesn't want to, like, if Tim Brewster is not willing to change tight ends coach, which he shouldn't be willing to change from tight ends coach, and Billy Gonzalez wants to stay wide receivers coach, which he should, if Tim Ledger and Michael D Simoe take on full, just strictly offensive coordinator jobs, that's great. If they don't want to do the position thing anymore, that's fantastic. But if they want to keep offensive coordinator / tight ends coach / recruiting coordinator or / wide receivers coach, we might run into a little bit of an issue there with the current guys that I think will want to retain. And that's another thing. I think that a decent amount of the staff from Florida is going to stay. I think Tim Brewster might stay. I think Billy Gonzalez might stay. I think that Savage might stay. I think that Christian Robinson might stay. So I think there are a few guys that might stay, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. It adds further stability to the program, but it could cause a little bit of I don't want to say a ripple effect, but it could cause a little bit of a tussle between position coaches and incoming potential offensive coordinators. That's certainly up for discussion, and we're going to get into some more guys. But first, the holidays are around the corner, and finding the perfect gift is tricky. Omaha Steaks makes it easy to send friends and family an unforgettable gift guaranteed to be loved. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter college in the search bar to order the perfect gift package. For $99.99, you'll get 24 entrees, like the world famous bacon wrapped filet mignons, which, by the way, I've had before. Oh my goodness, those things slap. Chicken breasts, sides, desserts, and so much more. And 24 entrees, by the way, for $100, basically $99.99. That's cheaper than getting it at like McDonald's. This is a fantastic deal. When you use code COLLEGE, you'll also get an additional 8 Omaha steak burgers free with your order. We've heard all the reports about shortages and shipping delays, so don't wait. Order the perfect gift package today at omahasteaks.com, and you'll get 8 free burgers when entering the code COLLEGE. Achieve gifting greatness with Omaha Steaks. Incredible flavor, incredible value, and 100% guaranteed. omahasteaks.com, keyword college. Looking at some other offensive coordinator hires, these are all different from just guys currently at Louisiana or with any relation that yet. Willie Korn is the first guy I'm mentioning. He's currently the Coastal Carolina co-offensive coordinator. I'm so tired of saying co-offensive coordinator, but co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. I'm really interested in this possibility. Willie Korn, of course, was coached by Billy Napier at Clemson in 2009, which is an awesome but weird thing to say, because like Billy Napier doesn't look like he would have guys that he coached 10 years ago that are currently coaching college football. But hey, here we are. Willie Korn, I'd be really excited for Willie Korn. He's someone that I kind of want to bring on. He wasn't in the earlier segment because I think the other guys are more likely. But Willie Korn would be someone that I really want to see bring on as offensive coordinator, because everybody talks about that Coastal Carolina offense and how fun it is and how creative and innovative it is and how sustainable it might be. So looking at Willie Korn, he could bring folds of that Coastal Carolina, that spread option kind of offense to Florida, which would be huge for this offense and the backfield specifically, because we have Anthony Richardson, who, by the way, this isn't like a spread option offense in the sense where they don't throw the ball. They certainly do throw the ball. Grayson McCall throws the ball. Grayson McCall could be an NFL quarterback next year. Imagine Anthony Richardson in that offense. It's very favorable for for quarterbacks. It is very favorable for any mobile quarterbacks, any mobile players. So getting the ball to these running backs, receivers, it would be awesome with Willie Corn mixing his offense with Billy Napier. That would be sick to see because we've seen Louisiana running backs. They make it to the league. Offensive linemen, they get there. So that would be just awesome to see Willie Corn mix his offense with Billy Napier. Next, Tom Herman, who we all know as the University of Texas head coach, former. Now he's the Chicago Bears offensive analyst, thanks to In All Kinds of Weather Recruiting for their Twitter spaces the other day, because Tom Herman was the guy that got brought up not frequently, but a couple times. And it's interesting because Tom Herman, he flopped at Texas. Let's call a spade. And Tom Herman flopped at Texas. Prior to that, though, he was a great offensive play caller. He was honestly a very good offensive play caller. And he's got experience recruiting in the South as a head coach at Texas. And he's got experience recruiting. Wow. He's got experience recruiting in the South in general. Tom Herman is one of those guys that, we could see him use Florida as kind of a launching pad to get his coaching career started again, because an offensive analyst, I don't know if you listened to Tuesday's episode where I had Trevor Sikkema on, he spoke about Billy Napier, who at one point went from offensive coordinator to offensive analyst. And an offensive analyst, you're not on field, you're not hands-on, you're kind of sitting in the room, sitting in the meetings, you get to give your input, you get to observe, but you don't get hands-on. Maybe Tom Herman uses Florida as a spot to relaunch his coaching career. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I will say that. But I want to say also, I think that when it comes to Florida, Tom Herman might be able to come on as less than the offensive coordinator, as a quarterback's coach or something where he's not the play caller and he has to still work his way up. I think he's in a position where he would take that job to work up, especially with he's a Chicago Bears analyst right now. Chicago Bears could be undergoing a coaching change at the end of this season. The final coach to talk about in this segment, Chip Long. He's not a household name at this point, but the Tulane offensive coordinator, I don't know what it is, but Tulane offensive coordinators, special. They're built different. Chip Long, of course, has a very creative offense. It's really fun. You can look at Will Hall, who is currently the head coach at Southern Miss, where he was prior to this. At Tulane, he was the offensive coordinator before Chip Long there. Chip Long has only been the offensive coordinator at Tulane for a year, which is why I don't think he'd be very likely to get offered this job. But, I mean, Tulane's in Louisiana. And Billy Napier, of course, was in Louisiana before this. Chip Long, he would have, it's a fun offense similar to Coastal Carolina, where, I mean, not similar in the sense of spread option, but similar where you could add those wrinkles into Billy Napier's offense. And also, I feel like we haven't seen Chip Long really just let it fly or let it go, because Chip Long, he's got experience working under Mike Norvell at Memphis. And of course, Mike Norvell is the current Florida State head coach. He was previously the head coach at Memphis when Chip Long was the offensive coordinator. Chip Long has worked at Notre Dame under Brian Kelly. So he could work wrinkles from that Memphis offense, from that Notre Dame offense, which I get isn't necessarily stellar, but they do some things over there that you could work in. So I think Chip Long is someone who can come in. He'd be here for at least a couple of years. I don't think he's someone that's going to be able to jump ship and get a head coaching job anywhere soon. And I don't know why he would leave for a different offensive coordinator job. So Chip Long, the Tulane offensive coordinator, I don't think it's something that will happen, but it's certainly a name that we should all note, because Billy Napier, whoever he hires as offensive coordinator, might not be here for long, especially if it's someone like Tom Herman. And so that might not be something that stays for long, but Chip Long is someone, I hate saying the word long so many times. Chip Long is someone who might be here for quite some time. So why not let it happen? Why not bring in a guy who's got experience being a coordinator in multiple spots? He's got experience being a coordinator under multiple head coaches, and he can work in different things from all of their offenses and maybe help this offense, take the next step that we were hoping they would take this year in the run game, which they did take the next step, but they can go even further. And with the personnel that's going to be here next year, as in players, I think that Chip Long and his offense would honestly be maximized with the Florida team that's going to be here. And Chip Long can recruit Louisiana players. Again, I want to focus on Louisiana players. And I'm not talking about the University of Louisiana. I'm talking about Louisiana, those players. Because with Billy Napier here, they're going to want to come to Florida. With the turmoil going on at LSU right now, people are going to be looking for new homes. Maybe not they're going to be like, oh, I want to go to Florida. But hey, if it's ripe for the picking, it's ripe for the picking. Oklahoma guys too, bring them on. Anybody else make money this past weekend? I didn't. I told you multiple times this week now. I'm having a blast telling you that multiple times this week. I've lost quite a bit of money on Sunday. I got cleaned out. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. Obviously, Florida losing threw a whole bunch of wrenches into my plans. Thanks for that, Florida. Love you. Hate you, Dan Mullen. Now I do. You're still a great coach, but BetOnline covers award shows, TV shows, and reality TV with real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. It is the best way to place your bets, and it's 100% free sign up. Head to the website or use your mobile device and sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Make sure to use promo code LOCKEDON. That is LOCKED, no space, ON for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Now, to wrap up, we're going to look at some long shots more than anything else, I want to say. First up, Rob Likens, who some of you may know. He is currently the wide receivers coach and passing game coordinator at the University of Miami, Florida. That one. He did work with Billy Napier at Arizona State when Billy Napier was at Arizona State. And before Arizona State and before Miami, Rob Likens was in Alabama. He was in California, as well as working in Connecticut. So he's got experience both coaching and recruiting in key states like Alabama and like Florida. And he can add key states like, California to go. California's athletes are ripe for the picking. They don't stay in the Pac-12 for long. They can come over here. That's totally fine. If they want to travel and they want to find success, they can come here. So Rob Likens is someone who has experience throughout where he could be, hey, I've been in California. It ain't all that. Come to Florida. This is where it's at. And he's got the experience in Florida for Miami guys. Maybe he can get some Miami recruits to flip to Florida if they came for him. Maybe he can get some current Miami players, if they enter the portal, to come to Florida. I'm not going to be opposed to it. I don't care. I don't care where you started. It's not the journey. It's the destination. That's what we're saying now. That's what I'm talking about. I don't care. So Rob Likens is a name to at least keep note of, especially as a passing game coordinator. Billy Napier is more of a run game guy, so bringing in a passing game coordinator would not be a bad idea. I'm a wide receivers coach with Rob Likens, although, again, you run into the Billy Gonzalez issue there. Burton Burns that's a fun name to say. Burton Burns is another guy to talk about. He is currently the New York Giants running back coach if Rob Sale were to come, I don't know why maybe Burton Burns could come here too as well and be an assistant. Burton Burns is currently the Giants running back coach. He's been there for a couple of years. He was at Alabama for a decade before he joined the New York Giants. Before that, he was at Clemson, Tulane, and Southern. You know what that means? Burton Burns has a ton of experience. Burton Burns has 36 years of experience coaching and recruiting in the South. 36 years. That's 11 years more than I've been alive. So Burton Burns is a guy that he could come to Florida and he can recruit these Louisiana players. He can recruit these South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama players. He can bring them in. So, Napier's a play caller. So he would be able to come in, Burton Burns would be able to come in and focus on the backs and focus on the recruits and maybe, obviously, give some contributions to the run game and the offensive game plan. But Burton Burns is a guy that he can come in and be Billy Napier's offensive coordinator. And it's like, hey, good job. Like you bring in, your job is to recruit. Burton Burns is that guy that can come in. And the final name to talk about, Brent Key, Georgia Tech offensive line coach, run game coordinator, and associate head coach. And I found Brent Key's name by the same way I found most of these names. Searching through people that Billy Napier was on the coaching staff with, that offensive coordinator would be an upgrade to their current job. And that's Brent Key. Brent Key is currently an offensive line coach, run game coordinator, associate head coach. Those are a lot of things to do. Brent Key could instead come in and be an offensive coordinator and a recruiting coordinator. Brent Key was at Alabama for 3 years prior to UCF, where he spent a decade coaching in Central Florida. So he's got experience recruiting and coaching down south. He knows what it's like. He's currently been recruiting players from the state of Georgia who he can then help convert to Florida Gators. Brent Key could take on the same responsibilities he has at Georgia Tech if he wants, or he could take a pay grade and he could take a pay grade and a school upgrade and a better school, better program, better everything at Florida. And he can help kind of build this program up more. And he can be an offensive line specialist, which is something you don't really see a ton of from offensive coordinators being at their offensive line specialist. But Brent Key, Rob Sale, guys that we've mentioned, they would be those guys. And Brent Key would not be responsible for calling plays. He doesn't have to worry about that. That's not something he's really done before. He's helped plan them, but not call them. So it's not something that he would have to do at all right now. So Brent Key could just step in, and he could learn under Billy Napier. Because, I mean, you look at an offensive lineman and you look at them when they become coaches, they want to run the ball. Imagine being able to learn under Billy Napier. That'd be an awesome thing to be able to do. So Brent Key could learn under Billy Napier as an offensive coordinator and as a recruiting specialist. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't miss out tomorrow where we'll look at Florida Gators defensive coordinator candidates. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. Locked On Bets hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. For Locked On Gators, I am Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon, and I will see you all tomorrow.